I have to tell you something. I'm so bored of hearing people say, travel broadens my horizons. So, today we're looking at 15 real high-level English phrases all about traveling so that you can talk about traveling like a pro. So let's get started. Hello, I'm Francis from Last Minute English. Let's start with these 15 phrases all about traveling. The first one is take the scenic route. Taking the scenic route is when you decide to go on a path or a route that takes longer, but you see more beautiful things along the way. And we use this phrase when we're talking about enjoying the journey, not just arriving at the destination. So you might say, instead of taking the highway, let's take the scenic route along the coast. And we can also use this phrase as a joke about people being late. For example, you could say, where's Chris? He was supposed to be here 20 minutes ago. He must have taken the scenic route. Phrase 2 is up at the crack of dawn. And this means to wake up very early, like around sunrise. And when you're traveling, there are lots of times when you'll have to wake up very early. For example, you might say, we had to be up at the crack of dawn to catch our flight. And one thing to note when we're saying this, we don't say crack of dawn, we say crack of dawn. We squash those words together. Up at the crack of dawn. Now, before we move to phrase 3, there is also a free PDF that comes with this video. It has all of the vocabulary and some example sentences and some activities to help you practice and help you remember this vocabulary. It's for free. The link is here, just under the video. Make sure you check that out. Phrase 3 is a change of scenery. This means when you go somewhere new to experience something fresh and different to your normal life. And we often use this when we want a break from our normal life. For example, you might say, we've been in the city too long. Let's go to the countryside for a change of scenery. Phrase 4 is live it up. Live it up. And we squash that together as well. Live it up. And this means living life to the maximum, trying to enjoy yourself as much as possible. So for example, you might say, have you heard from John recently? Last I heard, he was living it up in Barcelona. It means he was having a really good time on his travels in Barcelona. Phrase 5 is out and about. And again, squash them together. Out and about. So out and about means when you're out of the house doing something active. And you can use it about normal life. You can say, my grandma is always out and about walking her dog and visiting friends. But you can also use it about being on holiday. You could say, we should be out and about, not sitting in the hotel room watching TV. Phrase 6 is, it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's a pretty long one. So what this means is something is not as good as people say it is. So people might say this thing is really, really good, but your experience is this thing is not that good. And when we use this about traveling, we could maybe be visiting a landmark, a famous city, a famous place, and people said it was good, but we find it wasn't that good. So you could say, they told me this beach was amazing, but honestly, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Now, the opposite of that is our next phrase, which is when something lives up to the hype. Hype means that people are talking about it a lot and saying, it's good, it's great, it's amazing. And if something lives up to the hype, it means people were saying it was good, and your experience was that it is really that good. It met your expectations. It lived up to the hype. For example, you could say, London's nightlife really lived up to the hype. We had an incredible time there. Now, I've got a question for you about our last 2 phrases. Which places have you visited that really lived up to the hype? Or have you ever visited a place that wasn't all it was cracked up to be? Either of those, good experience, bad experience, let me know in the comments below. Phrase 8 is a rip-off. So a rip-off means when something costs a lot, it's very expensive, and actually we think it's overpriced. We think that the value of it, how actually good it was, is here, and the price is way up here. So it costs more than it really should. For example, you could say, oh, I wouldn't recommend that restaurant. The wine was a rip-off. It means It was not very good wine, but it cost a lot of money. And you should know that this is a strong phrase and can be a little bit insulting as well. So use this one carefully. Probably you don't want to say this to the person in the shop or the restaurant. Say it to your friends in secret instead. If you're enjoying this video and you want to keep improving your English and aiming for advanced level English, make sure to like and subscribe because we have loads more videos coming out every week. The next phrase is go with the flow. This means when you just accept things. You don't try to change the situation. You just accept what happens. And usually this means you have a very relaxed attitude to a situation. For example, if you go on holiday and you don't like to go, okay, 9 o'clock, this place, 10 o'clock, that place, and you're always rushing and rushing. If you're not like that, you can say, when I'm on holiday, I just like to go with the flow. Phrase 10 is when in Rome. Now this is short for the longer phrase, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. But these days, we usually just say when in Rome. And it means when you're in a different place or culture, you should try to do, or at least respect, the things that the local people do. And we mostly use this phrase when it's something unusual for us. It's something different to our own culture. So something from my personal experience, my wife is Colombian, and in Colombia, they tend to go out much later and eat dinner much later. So I'll often say things like, well, in the UK, we don't usually eat dinner this late, but when in Rome, and it means that even though this is different to how I usually do it, I can accept it, I can go with the flow. Phrase 11 is a toss-up between. Now, a toss-up between means we have to decide between two different things that are basically equal. And it's like flipping a coin and you're deciding, is it A or is it B based on the coin? For example, if you're traveling, you could say, what should we do later? It's a toss-up between visiting the museum or going on a boat tour. The next phrase is to people watch. So people watch is when you sit in a new place, like you're visiting a different city, and you watch the people going past in their normal everyday lives. You might do this sitting down in a coffee shop or in a restaurant, particularly if you're by the window or if you're outside on the street and you can see everybody walking past. For example, you could say, we sat at the cafe for hours just people watching and enjoying the atmosphere. Although remember not to look at people for too long and make eye contact with them if they know that you're watching them, because then people watching turns into staring, and staring is usually considered quite rude. Phrase 14 in our list is a hidden gem. So a hidden gem is something that not many people know about. It's not well known, but it's something wonderful or special, something amazing. And we call it a gem because a gem is like a gemstone, things like diamonds and rubies and emeralds. So it's a special thing, something valuable. And a hidden gem because most people don't know about it. For example, you could say, the little village we drove through was a hidden gem. And the final phrase is the opposite of a hidden gem. It is a tourist trap. So a tourist trap is a place that everybody knows about. So it has a lot of visitors, too many visitors really, and it's often very expensive. In fact, you could say it's often a rip-off. For example, you could say, I really loved visiting Paris, but a couple of the museums felt a bit like tourist traps, and we're saying that there were too many people, those places were too famous, and possibly they were also a little bit expensive as well. So there you go. Those are some amazing real English phrases about traveling. Now, if you want to be totally ready to use those phrases next time you go traveling, make sure to check out the free PDF. It's got all of the vocabulary, it's got the sentences, and it's got activities to help you practice. It's for free. It's here. Make sure you check out that link under the video. Also, remember to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. And remember to let me know about those places you visited that either lived up to the hype or weren't all they were cracked up to be. Let me know that under the video. Thank you for watching. I'm Francis from Last Minute English. I'll see you next time.